Welcome to Coach Chloe, the journey of self love. Today is episode 30, and it is part 9 of our series Tips and Tools to Hack Your Thoughts. So today we unpacking one of the hardest and most freeing acts of self love, forgiveness. When it comes to forgiving ourselves, that's when things get really real. We all know what it's like to cling to past mistakes, to replay them over and over and over again. It's almost like we're punishing ourselves when we do that. But the truth is this: hanging on to guilt and shame doesn't protect us, and it doesn't help us grow. It really holds us back. So, in this episode, we're going to dive into what it means to forgive yourself. Why does that matter? And how to actually let go of what's weighing you down. So, let's get into it and start clearing a path to a lighter, freer you. I have some amazing stories that happened just today that I'm so excited to share with you. Stay right there. We'll be back in a few. Welcome back. And like I said, part 9 of tips and tools to hack your thoughts. We're focusing today on forgiveness and how to experience freedom. Today, I went into the city and I hung out with my son. So I Ubered in, and when the Uber driver showed up, when I got into the car, he said to me, "You have an aura of light." I said, "Oh, thank you." You know, he said, "Has anybody told you that?" I said, "Yeah, I've heard that before." And so anyway, we drove into the city. I met my son, and as we walking in New York, somebody came to me and said, "You're full of love. I can see love. You have love all over you." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And I smiled, and my son and I look at each other. And then another person comes. There was, older lady. She probably is about in late 70s, 80. She stops and she says, "You're full of love. There's so much of love around you." And I said, "Thank you." And I was wondering why. And I realized I have a jersey that has a whole lot of heart. So my son and I, we smiled at each other. I jumped into the Uber to come back home. But when I jumped into the Uber, I just realized that I'm on this journey of self love. And somehow it is being emulated, it's being reflected off me. And that was such an amazing moment to because I'm working on my book, the journey of self love and how to hack your thoughts. So every day I'm so immersed in this. And then when in the space of 2 hours, for three people to make that comment, I thought, wow, something is changing here. So let's talk about why forgiveness matters. We can never love ourselves if we cannot forgive ourselves. Forgiveness is one of those things that sounds simple in theory but impossibly difficult in practice, especially when it comes to forgiving ourselves. We've all been there, replaying that past mistakes on a loop, beating ourselves up for things we can't change, and holding on to guilt or shame long after it served any purpose. But here's the thing: holding on to these feelings doesn't serve you. In fact, it keeps you stuck. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is liberating. It's freedom. It's a way of saying, I am no longer going to let my past define me or hold me back. It's about letting go of the weight that's been dragging you down so you cannot move forward with a lighter heart and a clearer mind. Forgiveness isn't about excusing your mistakes or pretending they didn't happen. It's about acknowledging, because we all make mistakes, We all don't get it right the first time. We don't get it right the second time. So it's about acknowledging those mistakes, learning from those mistakes, and then having the freedom and the will and the power to release them so we can grow. It's an act of self love. It's a way of giving yourself permission to be human and to move on. Forgiveness, forgiving others can be a challenge, but forgiving yourself, that can feel like climbing a mountain. We often are our own harshest critics, holding ourselves to impossible standards and punishing ourselves when we fall short. Why did I do that? I'm stupid. I shouldn't have. I wish I knew. I should have known to do better. We say all these things, but the truth is, you deserve the same compassion and understanding you would offer a friend. I've said this many times before, but it is true. Self forgiveness starts with acceptance. Accept that you made a mistake, that you didn't know better, or that you acted out of place, or out of pain or fear. It's okay. We are human. We do that stuff. We're not perfect. Being able to accept that we're not perfect and that it's okay. Perfection isn't a goal, growth is. Reflect on the things you need to forgive yourself for. Maybe it's something you said in the heat of the moment, a decision that you regretted, a path you wish you hadn't taken. Whatever it is, acknowledge it without judgment. Just be kind to yourself. Understand that you did the best you could with the information and resources you had at the time. It's also important to separate your actions from your identity. You are not your mistakes. What you did is not who you are. By forgiving yourself, you're not saying what I did was okay. You saying I am okay despite what I did or despite what I said. you know, I always seem to come back to my marriage because I guess a lot of the lessons in my life came from those 29 years. Yeah, although I felt in my marriage I was mistreated, and I was misunderstood, and all my self worth was stripped away. I knew the only way I could move forward in my life was to be able to have a forgiveness conversation. Not with my ex husband at first. The main conversation was the one I had to have with myself first. I needed to forgive myself first before I had that forgiveness conversation with him. So I had to be able to do something to forgive myself. And I'm going to share in a moment what I did. Um, Letting go is easier said than done. It's such a crucial part of the forgiveness process. Holding on to all the guilt, the shame, the resentment only keeps you tethered to the past. Letting go means freeing yourself from all these emotional chains and choosing to live in the past. So here's what I did. I wrote a letter to myself. I poured everything that I was holding on to, every regret, every moment of self criticism, every hurt, everything he said, I said, just everything. And at the end of the letter, I wrote, I forgive you, Chloe. Now, you could do the same thing. You could keep that letter as a reminder of your commitment to self forgiveness, or you can choose to destroy it as an act of release. Well, I chose to destroy it. And I took a further step. I went to a place that I always go when I'm reflecting, and I actually buried all the bits and pieces in the sand as an act of it's done, it's over. Another powerful practice is visualization. So, close your eyes. Imagine the weight of your guilt or shame as a heavy object you carry. And visualize yourself setting it down, walking away from it, and feeling lighter with each step. And when you're ready, open your eyes. This mental exercise can help you start to release the emotional burdens you've been carrying. It's also important to practice self compassion throughout this process. When feelings of guilt and shame arise, we tend to respond with criticism. Respond with kindness instead. Remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes and that you're allowed to grow from them without holding on to those mistakes forever. You know, we're focusing on self forgiveness, but it's also just important to touch on the forgiveness of others. Carrying resentment or anger towards someone else is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. It only hurts you. Forgiving others doesn't mean you condoning their actions or forgetting what they did. It means you choosing to let go of the anger or hurt so you can move forward. It's about reclaiming your power and refusing to let anyone else's actions control your emotions. Sometimes we hold on to those what has happened and we can't forgive people. It's like a bitterness inside of us. That person has probably moved on and is not even thinking about it. But we kind of feel stuck because we're still trying to forgive them. So talking about forgiveness, after I forgave myself and I wrote the letter, I called my ex-husband and I said, "Can we have a conversation?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." So I said, "I want to say that I am sorry for anything that I did or said, knowingly and unknowingly, in the marriage that caused the breakup in the marriage, in the relationship, in, just for it to fall apart." I said, "Please forgive me." And he was shocked. So he said, "Oh, yeah, it's forgiven." And so anyway, I'm like waiting for him to say something. You know, well, what about, can you forgive me? And then it didn't happen. I said, I think it'd be great at this time if you were able to do the same thing, whether you feel that I did something that was not good or made you feel in a certain way that I didn't intend to, or I did intend to. Um, it would be great if we both did the same. He said, "Oh, okay, well, can you forgive me for anything I did?" And I said yes. Even though I wasn't sure that he was all there with me, but I know that I was able to release it. I was able to let it go. It took a lot because I felt mistreated, but it didn't matter. I needed to forgive and I needed to let it go. I couldn't move on with my life if that didn't happen. So start by acknowledging your feelings. And it's okay to be angry, to be hurt, to be disappointed. Give yourself permission to feel these emotions and then decide to release them. Holding on to them only prolongs your suffering. It's not justifying people's actions, but it can help you understand what they might have done or what they did, right? Understanding doesn't excuse behavior, it only makes forgiveness easier. Remember, forgiveness is for you, not the other person. It's about your healing, your peace, your ability to move forward. Forgiveness isn't a one time thing, it's an ongoing practice. Just as you're constantly growing and evolving, so too you will need forgiveness, both for yourself and for others. Make forgiveness a regular part of your self love routine. Think about the areas where you're holding on to the guilt, the shame, the resentment, the bitterness, and consciously choose to let them go. It doesn't mean you will never feel these emotions again, but it does mean you committed to not letting them control your life. Also, just be mindful of how you talk to yourself. If you catch yourself slipping into self criticism or replaying past mistakes, very gently Remind yourself that you deserve forgiveness. You deserve to be at peace with yourself. And surround yourself with people who support your journey towards forgiveness and self love. Relationships are built on mutual respect and understanding. And that helps you grow and those relationships help you grow, and it reminds you of your worth, even on days when forgiveness feels impossible. So at the end of the day, forgiveness is all about embracing your imperfections. It's about recognizing that you, me, we all a work in progress, and that we are constantly learning, and that we are constantly deserving of love, even when we feel short or fall short. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love, especially your own love. By forgiving yourself, you're giving yourself permission to be human, to make mistakes, and to grow. You're allowing yourself to move forward without the weight of the past holding you back. So, as you continue on this journey of self love, remember that forgiveness is one of those most powerful tools you have. It's a way of setting yourself free, choosing peace over perfection, and of embracing the beautiful, imperfect, ever evolving person that you are. So, for our next session, we're going to be talking about just trusting the journey ahead. We've talked about so many different aspects and acts of self love. It's self love is not just a one and done deal. Like we talked about, it is ongoing. It's a lifelong journey. Forgiveness is that too. I'm so excited you're taking this journey with me. It's a honor to walk alongside you, to share these thoughts, and to explore what it means to truly love ourselves. My hope is that as you leave today, you embrace a renewed sense of self worth, self love, and self compassion. Remember, this is your journey, and you, only you, get to decide how it unfolds. Trust yourself, be patient with yourself, and most importantly, love yourself every step on your journey to self love. Who you are becoming is greater than who you were yesterday. Take care and see you soon.